What's going on, guys? Alex here with 814 EDC, and today I am ready to bring my full review on the Rosecraft Blades Alenta. So this was sent in by Bryan over at Blue Creek Knives, the Alenta as well as the Pocket Monster. And I have had these in for, it's probably been close to a month now, but I've carried them enough, and I've used them enough, so I have a pretty good idea of my thoughts on them, so I can give them to you guys. So these are two new Rosecraft Blades Rosecraft Blades knives. And if you guys are not familiar with Rosecraft Blades, they are a pretty new company. They are, operating kind of in that $50 to $60-ish range. So they're definitely budget knives. And they are using CGRB as a OEM because I'm going to do separate videos on both of these, but both of these have AR RPM 9 steel, which is what CGRB uses as their proprietary steel. So like I said, budget knives in the $50 to $60 category using CGRB, and I think it's a cool concept. I think they have some interesting designs, and Bryan messaged me because I am an affiliate or an ambassador of Blue Creek Knives, and he asked if I would want to check out some of them, and I said sure. I picked out a couple that I thought I might like, and he sent them to me. So yeah, we're gonna do the Alenta first, and then I'm gonna do a separate video for the Pocket Monster. But this spec of the Alenta is in, as you guys can see, JG10. You have a black loop over style deep carry clip there that goes to the butt end of the knife, but with the shape of the handle, you have this kind of sticking up out. I'm never huge fans of this style of handle because you either put the pocket clip up here and it works pretty well with carrying deep in your pocket, or you just throw it on like that and it leaves a little bit of the knife sticking up out. I wish they would have just maybe designed it a little bit differently and putting the pocket clip up higher, but that's just a personal preference, me being a little bit picky. It has a two-toned kind of upswept style blade here. Rosecraft Blades logo right there. You have the machine satin, which actually looks pretty solid in my opinion. And then you have the DLC coated flats up on top. This is I believe his name is Chris Snyder Design. He is one of the, creators and owners per se of Rosecraft Blades. And then the RCM 004. I don't know if that's a product number or what that stands for. It's also on the Pocket Monster, so I haven't been able to figure out what that stands for. I really like that all the hardware is black. So you have black pivots. Except for these two back screws right here, the back screws and the standoffs and barrel spacers, I wish they were black too to kind of match everything else, because you have the pivot being black, you have the pocket clips black, and then you have black liners as well. This is a liner lock, of course. You have dual thumb studs and a flipper. They are on bearings. And there is no internal milling besides a very, very small cut on the lock bar. I don't know if that's for weight relief or what, but there is no other milling going on. And they are proud liners. Another thing would have been maybe to nest them, make them a little bit feel more premium, contour the G10 a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's all for materials. You do have a sort of hidden lanyard tube back here. I did take this apart, and I think the hole should be moved to a different angle, but that's just, I must have not realized that as I put it back in there. So I think that's all for materials. So next up is action. And the D10 on this is pretty nice. It's very snappy. Thumb stud works pretty well. Flies right out of there. It's hard for me to fail it. It was a little gunky when I got it at first, so I did take both this and the Pocket Monster apart to disassemble it, clean it up, and throw some KPL on there. And it seems to be working fairly well right now. So you have the thumb stud. Thumb flick works very, very well. Middle finger flick flies right out of there as well. And like I said, it's hard for me to fail this knife. Like, you can, but you really have to kind of like drag your feet and like just get it to pop out of there. But the flipper tab is hitting my finger up there, so it's very easy to just pick it up and fire it right out. The flipper tab also works very, very well. You can get that to fail, you know, a bit as well, but it's very, very close. Pretty much flies right out to the wall of the detent ball. So I must say the action is decent on here. But if I'm being honest, the action feels just like the CGRB Feldspar, which I had in earlier on in my YouTube career, in my knife collecting career. And it feels so similar to it, especially because the thinness of the lock bar. I've heard Kevin, Left EDC, mention a few times when he was talking about these in some of his videos, how thin the lock bar was, and that's kind of a thing that CGRB does. And I have, like, it's just, it is a little bit to kind of push your thumb into it, and it's not like hard or anything like that. It just kind of, you know, irritates your thumb a little bit, but it feels just like the Feldspar did. I mean, it's identical to it, to how the blade closes and sort of the detent, and that's really all I can get in my head whenever I'm like fidgeting with this knife is, oh, this is like a different version of the Feldspar, which would make sense because it is CGRB made. And I even had the Jade Feldspar. I think it was a Blade HQ exclusive at the time, but it's pretty much identical to the knife that I had. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But for me personally, the thinness of the lock bar does kind of get annoying after a while. You get a little bit, you know, sort of used to it, but just something that I kind of wanted to point out and show that there are definitely some similarities between this and the Feldspar. So if you have a Feldspar and you're maybe thinking of picking this one up, definitely make sure you like it. Or, you know, to me, if you had a Feldspar in your collection and you're considering this, I would just keep the Feldspar because they're, you know, if you didn't, like, if you weren't head over heels for this design and you had to have it, I would just maybe keep the Feldspar. But yeah, all in all, the action is good. I just wanted to point out that I kind of thought that it felt like a Feldspar. You know, it might be just my brain telling me that and playing kind of tricks on me, but it's very, very identical, having felt both of them. So next up is Ergos. And the Ergos on this knife are really, really good. So you have a interesting looking handle. You kind of have a general swell kind of right here. And then you have a, that does not happen very often, guys, but I just, one of those days. You have I can't wait to look back and see what my face looked like as I dropped that. Luckily, there's nothing on my desk and I didn't, you know, cut anything, but that's gonna stay in because we don't cut out bloopers like that here on 814 ADC. But you have a swell back here and it kind of tapers off and gets fat towards the back end. And then you have a almost like strider-like sort of landing area back here. You can use this area as a choil if you're doing very precise cuts, but you're so close to the edge of the blade there, I wouldn't really be doing anything hard use with this. Maybe just choked up just enough just to get a little bit more grip on there. But primarily you're going to be holding the knife like this. You have I have all 4 fingers on there. I can easily get another one on if I had a second pinky, 5th finger. You have a little bit hanging out back here. There is no jimping on the knife, which is nice. Very smooth. The G10 is, you know, if you guys have had a CGRB in the collection before, it's very similar to CGRB G10. Very similar because it's made by the same company. And it has a decent amount of grip to it, but it's not overly grippy, if that makes any sense. Just feels good in the hand. The Ergos are probably my favorite thing about this knife. It just fits really well. You have a nice, you know, controlling grip over it, and you can do some good cutting. The blade stock is, you know, it's kind of right in the middle of being thick and thin. Comes down to a decent thinness behind the edge. It's not like super duper thin, but it's not like terribly thick either. It's a flat grind. So, you know, you can, obviously the grip that it is in your hand is, you know, predominant to how the knife cuts, and it's comfortable. It's easy to grip onto, and it's, you know, it's a decent style blade. I don't love the upswept blades for what I choose to do with my cutting, which I don't use, you know, hard use my knives very much at all, but just they don't tend to agree with me that often. I much prefer drop points, spear points, warnies, sheep's foots, that style blade. But if you are into a kind of upswept blade like this, you know, you guys would have no problem. So Ergos are again, my favorite part of the knife. So next up is carry. And I've already established that it does have a deep carry clip, but I wish they would have put it higher on there. I just don't love when you have kind of that really pointy area of the knife sticking up out of your pocket. It is nice that they have 2 holes over here so you can have a reversible clip for all you lefties out there. But you carry it in pocket. You do have a flipper tab down here that you have to be aware of when you're in here grabbing change, chapstick, whatever it may be. But it rides fairly well. For not having too much, internal milling going on, it's not a heavy knife. The G10 definitely helps alleviate some of that weight, and these are just steel liners. They aren't titanium or anything like that. I do think the pivot collars are aluminum, but I could be completely wrong about that. So overall, carries well. I have only carried this in, I guess I carried it in shorts and jeans. So I've carried it in front right pocket, back right pocket, excuse me, and I have carried this in just my gym shorts pockets while I'm around the house and stuff like that and hanging out. And even just free floating in gym shorts pockets, I couldn't really tell it was there. So that goes to attest to how, not heavy it is, how decently lightweight it is for being a 3.3 inch blade. Carries, decently well. So one gripe is I just wish the pot clip was situated a little bit different up here on the scale so it would carry a little bit deeper, but all in all, doesn't carry bad at all. So that leads me to my final category of price point and what I recommend this knife. According to BlueCreekKnives.com, the Jade Alenta goes for $61.99. But if you use my code 814EDC, you can get 10% off of that. So it'll take it down to like $55 with free shipping. And, this knife, I'm going to say it right now, it's not necessarily for me. I'm not a huge, fan of design. It's not for me, like I said. But I think $55 with my code is a decent price for it. I mean, you're getting good materials. I've always had decent results and decent experiences with the AR RPM 9 blade steel that CJRB uses on their proprietary knives and whatnot. The G10 has nice texture to it. The action is all in all pretty solid with the with the flipper tab, with the thumb studs, both thumb flick and middle finger flick. So I don't think it's a bad value. I think if you are a fan of the design, if you are a fan of supporting, smaller companies, newer companies such as Rosecraft Blades, then I think you definitely would be in the market for it. It's just not something that I would probably go out of my way to buy, but I'm glad I got to check it out. Glad I got to experience it. And I think, again, for $55, you're getting a decent amount of materials for the price, and I do think it's worth it if you're a fan of the design and if you are, wanting to support a new company. So just wanted to give a huge shout out to Bryan over at Blue Creek Knives. Thank you, Bryan, for sending this and the Pocket Monster my way. I did enjoy getting to check them out, and I do like the Pocket Monster a little bit better than the Alenta. You guys will have to wait and see my full review on the Pocket Monster, which probably be the next video after this one. But yeah, I'm sure I'm going to keep this for, giveaways or something like that. I am, slowly creeping up on 1,000 subs here on YouTube. So maybe I'll keep both of them for that and to give away to you guys. But, I just don't see myself carrying this a ton now that I've got the review out of the way. And, it's a decent knife, just not for me. And that's kind of just what I'm going to leave it at. So there will be a link in the description down below if you guys are interested in checking out the Alenta. If you're not interested in this colorway, but you're interested in the knife, there are, I think, 2 or 3 more variations of the knife. You can find them on the website. But again, if you're interested in the Alenta or any Rosecraft style blade, Rosecraft blade styles, use code 814EDC at checkout for 10% off of your order. I get a little bit of kickback. You guys get money off. It's a win-win. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.